We shall see. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Personnel Administration Committee for Tuesday, April 20th, 2021 at 12 noon to order. And I want to thank all those who are here for our agenda, including our very busy department heads who I know have a lot going on. I also want to thank them for agreeing to move this meeting from its original meeting date so that the county could observe a time of mourning for deputy driver. So thank you all for agreeing to do that, and we really appreciate that. Moving on to our agenda, we're gonna go ahead and start with item number 2, review of classification recommendation for the Highway Department.
Counselor Deckard, we need to do a roll call to ensure that there's a quorum since we're on Zoom, we have to do that verbally.
All right. And in that case, let's do us a roll call. Counselor Spoonmore.
Here.
And Counselor Hawk.
Here.
All right. Gang's all here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for reminding me. All right, let's go ahead with item number 2. Again, the classification recommendation for the Highway Department Stormwater Inspector position. It looks like we have received back our report from Wagoner, Irwin, and Sheely. And I'd like to now invite Director Lisa Ridge if she wanted to make any further comments, or council staff, or any other relevant entity. What do we need to know?
I think we followed the correct process. We've gone through the WIS, we've gone through PAC. I did want to make a correction. I notified Kim this morning. On our chart, organizational chart, we had a misclassification on the broad project engineer supervisor. He's actually a PAT 4, not a PAT 5. So I just want to make that public that was an error on our part, just a typo. But yeah, we're ready to move forward. I know the Stormwater Board is very supportive of this position. We've already taken it to them, and we'd like to move forward of go to the next step.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments from Michelle? All right, thank you. I would entertain any questions or comments from PAC members at this point. Councilor Spoonmore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got a question for Ms. Shell. So if this does receive approval from PAC today, the next steps are to get this on the council agenda for next Tuesday, or is it going to be the following meeting?
That is up to you when you want to put it on. You just direct me on what agenda.
Okay.
And actually, we had already, under Kim's guidance, we know the additional appropriation deadline was April 15th, but we went ahead and prepared the legal ad. If it's not approved, then we're going to pull it.
Okay. So everything is ready for council to take action then on Tuesday next week, if this is approved.
The additionals won't take place until May the 11th, but you could go ahead and approve the position at the work session, and then that way she can go ahead and get it advertised and to start filling it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And no, sorry, one more question for Ms. Ridge, if I may. Ms. Ridge, you had no concerns about the feedback from WIS?
No, I did not. I thought it was very accurate in comparison to other positions that I have in the department. And it seems very equal to what those positions are compensated for.
Okay. Thank
And
you,
I want
Mr.
to thank Kim for her financial impact statements and everything. Those are great. I know I heard it at the last council meeting where she had done it for Ms. Purdy, and they're great tool for us department heads to use. So thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Councilor Hawk, did you have a question or comment?
I was just going to comment. I don't know where that feedback's coming from, but it's pretty hard to hear when all that noise is going on in the background. I don't know what office. It might be coming from the highway office. I'm sorry. I was trying to see.
It's coming from in here. That's why I usually Zoom at home.
Well, I appreciate you being there. And in the office, I'm looking forward to when we're all back in the office, as I believe that it's time. But I just wanted to say I was having trouble hearing you, but
I apologize, Marty.
no, that's okay.
Thank you. We got busy offices. It's a good sign that great things are happening. Any other questions, comments, or motions from council members? I think you both have captured some of the things I was questioning.
Yes, Mr. Deckard, if I may, I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
And that would be to, I'll move approval of the WIS recommendation on classification for the stormwater inspector position of Pat 4 exempt.
Okay.
Moving forward with the recommendation of approval. Is that what you said?
Yes.
We
And
don't make the approval, we just make the recommendation.
recommend to council.
Yes, second.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second for this item on the agenda. Any further comments? Seeing none, we will call a roll on the motion.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk,
Yes,
Counselor Deckard.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you. See you next week.
May I ask,
Lisa.
sorry. Go ahead, Lisa.
I just said thanks. See you next week.
Would you like for this position to be added to the work session agenda?
That's fine with me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on now to item number three. Sorry, this is a request for a new position into a department. There's two items. Item number A is the one we're talking about at this point. And this is from the Commissioner's office. Ms. Purdy, I believe, is here to talk further about it for a public information coordinator. This was an item that the council had weighed in verbally to discuss at, I believe, the last meeting, if I'm remembering correctly. And I'd welcome back Ms. Purdy if she is here, or I don't know, Michelle, if you had any comments.
I don't see her. I'm going to make a quick phone call. So if you would like to move to the next one
Okay.
with Captain Davis.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and hold item number A. We're going to move to B with the sheriff's office. This is a request, again, a new position into a department under administrative data analyst position. To my knowledge, the council has not discussed this in a public meeting, unlike item A, which is a note that I just wanted to make. And so, Captain Davis, I will turn it to you to perhaps introduce the subject.
I appreciate it. So this has been in conversations between the sheriff and a few representatives of the council about creating this position to cover several aspects for the sheriff's office, one of which, and probably one of the most important work that would be performed by this position, is helping us be more transparent to the community in matters of public interest, such as statistical information and just general data that we can work through to put out to the public in light of the ever-changing landscape of law enforcement, the public's interest in certain aspects of the functions that we perform have increased dramatically, and it's put a lot of burden on positions that are already pretty busy, and trying to be as transparent as we can. So we began working on developing a job description to cover, with that being the foremost thought, but also buttoning up some other areas that we could really use some help with.
Thank you very much, Captain Davis. I'm going to open this up now to council comments. It looks like Councilor Hawk. Go ahead.
comment and question. When speaking with Sheriff Swain about this, if I understand it correctly, this is someone to put together information and data for your office, but not the person who will be taking that to the public, because that will be up to the sheriff.
That is correct.
Okay, just want to make sure, because he made it clear to me that information going out to the public will be coming from him, no one else, unless he directs you to do it.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank
Currently, the sheriff and I somewhat share the public information officer role as far as preparing press releases or press statements. But this position would be doing behind the scenes work of compiling that data for us to put out to the public.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Spoonmore.
Yes, thank you, sir. And just a question about process. And this is a position that I am very much interested in kind of seeing move forward through the process. And recently with some of these new positions, we've had the council weigh in first before we do any engagement with WIS on classification conversations and that kind of thing. And just a question for, I guess, our chair, is this the type of conversation that we'd like to have council weigh in on first before we take any future action with engaging the services of WIS?
Thank you very much for that question. I appreciate it. And for the public watching, this is not a setup question. I truly want to comment on two things. First, I think it's great that we have this introduced here in PAC, but I think we have had a very helpful, process by which PAC has in the past said they'd like council to weigh in before PAC starts making large on my own. And so if the council has that, can you all hear me okay?
You're cutting in and out.
Can you hear me?
We can now. Your image is frozen though, your video.
Let me adjust my internet.
Turn on the power booster.
Well, and I was talking and you all were just, yeah, hold on one second here. I'm going to try to see if I can get me a better internet connection.
While we're taking a pause for just a second, I spoke with Angie and she is ill and is not able to be at this meeting. And she is requesting to postpone it to the next meeting. So when we get to that point.
Thank you.
What's going on?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. All right. You all are kind of frozen, so I apologize for that. I just changed internet connection. Hopefully this will work. You're all still a little bit frozen here.
Marty has a question, or Counselor Hawk has a question.
Go ahead, Counselor Hawk.
Right. In response to the message that just came from Michelle, there are people on board here that might wish to speak to what was to be on our agenda. And since it was on the agenda, it seems to me that we should at least take their comments now so that they know that they are being listened to. And then we can, discuss it at another time as well.
Sure, sure. Let's hold item A. We'll come back to that in just a moment. If you can hear me okay. On item B, I want to make sure that I responded to the initial question on that. Okay. And so as chair, I wanted to follow council kind of precedent protocol or as best I could and not deciding that this goes ahead to council. But if it's the wish of PAC to send this to council for further comment under the practice that we've had and to have them weigh in and offer input to Captain Davis and Sheriff Swain, then by all means, I think that we should entertain that. Sorry for that long delayed answer. Counselor Hawk.
Yes, I think we set up a really good practice unless this is something of urgent need that has to happen yesterday. I do believe we should treat all departments similarly and bring it to the very next possible session that we have, because it is it's a brand new position. So when we have a brand new position, it seems to me the council might wish to weigh in. I don't feel strongly about one way or the other. I'm just thinking that's the way it seems to work well.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Spoonmore, I saw your hand.
Yeah, and I just want to provide some assurance to Captain Davis. This is not any mechanism to be a roadblock in the process. This is just kind of a practice that we've gotten into that I think is, up to this point, worked very well for the council. And I've received that feedback from a number of members on some recent new positions that we've been looking at. And so I would be in favor of following that protocol that we've established. Have the council kind of weigh in first on if there's just a general consensus and of support for kind of moving it through the process. And that would be my preference. And we can do that at any council meeting in the future that is convenient for you, and we can get it on the calendar for us.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilor Hawk.
Right, and Ms. Shell, if you could just track what would be the quickest way to get this before us and the quickest way to get it back to PAC and so forth. So there's not really a long delay, because I know that they want this information taken to the public. So, I mean, we ought to be able to do it without dragging it on for months.
I just want to do it. I want to make sure that it's
Yes.
Convenient to Captain Davis's schedule too, and that he's, fully prepared and able to be there and all of that. I just don't want him to think that, we have a requirement of when he needs to come talk to us. It's basically at his pleasure.
I was going to ask him if he would be available for the work session next Tuesday on the 27th.
Yes, I can make that work.
Okay. I will put you on that agenda, which then after that work session, then we have another PAC meeting on May the 4th. So that would be the time schedule for this discussion.
Sounds great.
Okay, I will confirm that with everyone.
And do we need anything? We don't need a vote on this to do that to council or anything? Or what, any thoughts on that, Michelle?
No, just
Just
a
an agenda
recommendation.
request.
Yeah, just a recommendation to move it to council.
All right. Let me ask just a piggyback question. Long term, do we want this to be an adopted policy of PAC, unwritten, written? I know that particularly for department heads, things change, people change, and things. I want the most seamless thing. I also do like the public can see where things go from, where they come from, and if they have questions, they can show up. Any thoughts on that, Councilor Spoonmore?
Yes, thank you. A really good question, and I think that would make a lot of sense to just kind of officially implement that. And when departments or other elected leaders have new position requests, we can just kind of, rather than come to PAC first, the guidance that the council office could provide is to just submit an agenda request, talk to your liaison, make sure that everyone is kind of up to speed and aware of what the protocol is for these. And that way we would eliminate the need for, having to come to PAC to have this preliminary conversation and eliminate the time that, Captain Davis is having to spend here today.
Councilor Hawk, do you agree with that?
Yes, I think we could always make it clear that if it was something of a major urgent reason that we had to move forward quickly, we need to make sure everybody's represented as quickly as possible. But it is a good way for the departments to find out whether or not the county council as a whole would even support this new position. It's extra money.
Right.
Thank you. I have just changed internet again, so if you get a freeze, I apologize. So with that, I believe item B, we are now finished. Captain Davis, thank you so much for being here and talking with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you in council again. We're going to now move back to item A, the request from the Commissioner's office. With Ms. Purdy being ill and not being able to be here, I do think it does make sense. We have some folks that showed up to offer some thoughts. and that we hear from them. So with that, and if there's no objections from the counselors, I think we'll just open it up to collect those thoughts, and we can revisit the item with those thoughts down the road. We've got our assessor, Judy Sharp. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, commissioners, councilman. Thanks for letting us speak. I sent you an email, and I hope you all saw it earlier today. I think I put my thoughts and feelings pretty succinctly. Bottom line is, as an elected official, no one but the elected official can speak for themselves. No one knows our jobs like we do, don't have the responsibility like we do. So a spokesperson cannot speak for me. It is me. And I believe Ms. Hawk said something to Captain Davis that when actually anything comes out of the sheriff's office, it's the sheriff that speaks. He's the duly elected official, just like I am, like Jessica is, like even you all. You're a group of council people, but you digress. You don't agree all the time, which is the way it's supposed to be. As a consensus, you might agree, but there would still be maybe a couple of you that would still not agree. And you have that right to inform the taxpayers that represent you, your feelings, and you should be doing that. We all work for the public 24/7. I don't care who you are, what you are. Once you're elected, that's what we do. And it's nothing for me to answer emails, pick up the phone during the weekend. Don't mind that at all, never have, and always will do that. But to have a spokesperson hired by another office that really has nothing to do with my office, speaking for me, it just won't work. First of all, how would I ever educate someone into what we do? This is a job that is very complex. And so you just cannot speak for me. So if the commissioners wish to have this position, it should only be for them and their department heads who serve at their pleasure. That's all there is to it. It's like the mayor. The mayor has a public information officer that speaks for him and his department heads. However, he doesn't speak for their council or their clerk because they are also duly elected. I think this is a slippery slope. My personal feeling right now is we are putting a lot of new money into the coffers, into the budgets that, we all don't know what's going to happen in the next year. And I think this position, you have Ms. Purdy, who is the administrative assistant to the commissioners, which I always thought was kind of the position that would speak for the commissioners, because if anyone knows what's happening, it's Ms. Purdy. And she does a nice job speaking for the commissioners to all of us on the internet, on the emails and stuff. So my feeling is absolutely no to the elected department heads. I doubt if anyone would disagree with me. Just think if we had a public information officer who, for whatever reason, thought they could speak for Penny Caudill after this year and a half. Penny Caudill has kept this county on a smooth track, has done an absolutely phenomenal job, probably one of the best in the whole state. And I know she works kind of with the commissioners, but she also works for the state of Indiana. And it's just like all of us. We have constitutional jobs, statutorial jobs. Someone else can't come in. So that's just my 2 cents. I appreciate you listening. I did write it all out for you, so I hope you really consider this, and thank you all.
Thank you very much, Assessor Sharp. And I also see the treasurer is here. Did you want to make a comment as well? Go right ahead.
Hello, counselors. Thank you for having us here. I'm disappointed that I don't get to hear discussion about this position today. I look forward to hearing some discussion and some clarification about the position, but I am here to agree with what Judy expressed, that it is a slippery slope and that we are elected to speak for our office. And I don't have a need for a communications officer, but I could see that the commissioners would. They have many departments underneath them, and that's fine. I was just, all I know is what I read in the PAC description. And what really stood out to me was press releases for all civil government. Like, I don't mind sending the commissioners very well-proofed information that they could put on their Facebook page or that they can put on the website. And if that position is really to manage those kinds of interactions with the media, that I completely understand the need for someone to do that. But press releases for civil government is my job from my office. So I'm here to just express that I wouldn't say anything about the commissioner's office. I wouldn't communicate with the media about assessing or Judy Sharp or her plans or her office. And I expect the same. I expect the same expectations from my office, that I'm responsible for the messages that come out of my office. So that's all I wanted to share. And I really was hoping to get a clear explanation of the position, and that would probably clear up a lot of questions that elected officials have. So that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Jessica McClellan. Anyone, other department heads or elected officials here that wish to make comments? I see Councilor Spoonmore's got a hand up.
Yes, thank you. And thanks to the treasurer and assessor for coming and submitting the information. Very helpful. We did have at our last council meeting on, I believe what was that? Last Tuesday, was that? Yeah, the 13th. We did have a little bit of a discussion with Ms. Purdy, kind of about the goals and vision for the position. So that may be worth checking into. My vision for this is that this position would not, and maybe we need to clarify this a little bit better in the job description and some of the materials. But this position would not be in any way, shape, or form speaking for any elected officials, unless it's the commissioners, and the commissioners have extended that responsibility to the person that reports to them. But being more cross-functional and working with elected officials and other areas, other offices, to kind of supplement and augment the efforts that you're already doing. I mean, this getting information out to the public can be very tricky sometimes. And sometimes there's very urgent, immediate needs, especially in government. There's all kinds of things that we're doing in Monroe County government, that your offices, the duties that you're performing, have huge impacts on people's lives. I mean, tax bills. We're all getting questions about tax bills right now. And so this is something that we can all kind of collaborate on, the council, the treasurer, the assessor, commissioners, and we have that central point of contact that can help us, get information out to the public. When we have the creation of a new fire district, or, that's something that has a big impact on people's elections in the clerk's office and what they do. There's needs, there can be things that come up with that we need to get information out to the public. It's not that this person, in my view of this position, this person would not be speaking for the elected officials. They may be communicating with the clerk and saying, hey, is there anything I can help you with here? Because this is important stuff that we're trying to communicate to the public. And it may need more than just a press release that we issue to the Herald Times, but we have all these different avenues that we can engage the public in. How can I help and assist you with that? Getting that critical information out to the public. In your words, send it to me and we can collaborate on this together. So that was kind of my vision of the position. It would be very cross-functional, collaborative with the needs of county government in general, but we have to house it somewhere, and the commissioners, it made the most sense for it, but maybe that's something we need to look at as well. And we can maybe clarify some of these things a little bit better in the job description, because it does seem that there's some concerns, and happy to look at that. But I just wanted to make it clear that we're and PAC is not approving the position. that would be the council. We would just, the discussion that PAC was going to have is, basically are we going to send this to WISP for them to kind of provide a recommendation for classification? Once that comes back, then we would forward it on to council for another discussion on the ultimate approval of the position. So those are just some initial thoughts that I had, and I don't know if that's helpful or not, but I just want to, my vision for this, and I'm just one council member, this is not a position that is going to be doing any communicating for or putting words into the mouths of elected officials and Monroe County government. It's really there to kind of assist and help with that process when you all need it.
Thank you very much, Councilor Hawk. And then I wanted to offer some comments after her. Go ahead.
Yes, I think it's very important that we have a thorough discussion of this because it will be tied to the job description. If this will be a position who's going to assist the different department heads and the elected officials with, here's how you can reach the, whatever website, or how to keep our website up to date. Not put the information on there, but direct the different elected officials and department heads where they can add the information on, where it's clear that if somebody from the press or the news, they want to see what's the latest thing going on in county government, there should be a place that they could go to right there that each department or elected official has added their information, not the commissioner's information. That'd be separate, that'd be commissioner's spot, but there'd be a place there for our treasurer to add on whatever she wanted, latest news, and it could happen immediately. If there was something that the treasurer or whomever would want to get out to the public, there would be training there how you can get it out there on our website. And also perhaps get back to doing press releases. That's how this is supposed to work, really. If you have an elected official who has something they want to get out to the public, they do a press release. I know not as many people take the newspaper as once did, and many just do it on Facebook or wherever. And so if it's a way to assist that, that's one thing. And that ought to be in the job description. But if it's literally the person who's going to be compiling it all and presenting it to the public, that's wrong. That's pretty much what I said at the meeting, so I'm not changing my mind about it at all. It's just that we're a whole different animal than the city. For instance, the other day on Facebook, I said, oh, guess what? I paid my taxes today. Well, Jessica, pardon me, Ms. McClellan, you were watching, you saw the whole thing blow up. Oh, you're special. You get to pay your taxes, whatever. And I was in there, had called ahead to get to do the assessor thing in this, for a document there. And that just sort of spiraled out. But she immediately responded and said, hey, please make it clear people have to make this appointment, which I repeated exactly what she told me to say, and showed them where the people could find the information on the website. So that's how we work together. We shouldn't ever be the person trying to be a spokesperson for another office.
Right.
Can you hear me? This is Trent back.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Councilor Hogg, thank you very much for your comments, and you all kind of froze again for a second. I'm sorry, I'm fighting the internet today. If I can, I'd like to offer just some quick comments. I appreciate, somebody give me a thumbs up if you're hearing me okay. All right, thank you. This is tough stuff today. First of all, I want to thank both the treasurer and the auditor or assessor, pardon me, for coming in and giving us their thoughts. And I think this is helpful. I also similarly I never heard anything that's been discussed before. I think there needs to be further clarification that anyone is speaking for any elected official, and certainly not one that would not want to utilize the office. That said, here's the one comment that I will make. I believe that the needs of the county and the people of the county have changed very dramatically and rapidly over the 200 years plus history of the county. And we now have a lot of residents that need us to reach them in a lot of different and variety of ways. And I think as the health department was a testimonial and a good example of, it's rapid and it's enveloping how big a county problem can get and how big a need is. And I think that there's something to be said for supporting that public information that people get and coordinating that. It does give me a little heartburn that we do not have one dedicated person that could be solely responsible for interacting, reaching the public, or even responding to data requests if necessary. So we got to think about that, and we need to have further discussion. And if you kind of look back at my council comments, I said a little bit of this last week. That all said, is there, Ms. Purdy is ill and cannot be with us today, and I think we need to hear from her. And so Councilor Spoonmore, do you want to make a comment or a motion to that effect?
Well, I just had a couple more points that I wanted to make. I think that, in how we look at the model and the framework for this position, we've got an existing framework already in county government. And this is kind of how I view this, is through, how county legal operates. And so those legal resources are available to the departments and the elected offices when they need them. We would never want any elected official to be out on a limb by themselves without any assistance from a legal standpoint. And so you have attorneys that you can turn to when some kind of a legal need arises. But those attorneys report through the commissioner's office. They're not, exclusively within the office of certain elected officials like, the treasurer or the assessor. I know there's other attorneys that will be engaged, but this is kind of similar. I think we want there to be a resource available to our county leaders from a communication standpoint as well too. We don't want you to constantly be feeling like you're out on a limb if you need some assistance with public information. And so it has been identified as a need, I think, from a lot of folks in the county. But that, again, it's not meant to be speaking for the elected officials. And one of the other things that I thought would be important if this position does move forward is the suggestion that I had at the last meeting last week was that, in order for this position to be successful, it's going to have the buy-in of the different offices and the different departments. I mean, we want you all to understand the value that this can add to your work and to the important stuff that you're doing in county government. And so we need that buy-in. And if there's things that you're not understanding or are confusing to you, this is great for us to hear. But one of the suggestions that I made was we should get a county-wide hiring committee that would involve other offices and other departments that would actually be responsible for making a recommendation on who would be selected for the role. So, and that was received with positivity from the commissioner's office, I believe, was my impression of that. So I think that would be, another way that we could demonstrate that this is, something that we really do want to be a collaborative role and working cross-functionally with all of our county offices and departments. So sorry to take some additional time but I just wanted to mention that as well.
Go ahead, Councilor Hawk.
Yes, of course, if we don't create this position, we won't have to worry about who's going to decide how to hire them. And it will all tie back to the job description and money, so you're adding a whole other brand new position. Is this the highest and best use for every extra dollar we might have? I know we have a lot of extra dollars right now, but that cannot be used for hiring personnel, because if we do, this should be only one-time use of these dollars, because we won't be getting them on. But what I wanted to make very clear is that we hear you, elected officials. I hear you. And I'm hearing you're not supportive of some other person presenting what you want to go to the public to give a press release. Because remember, those folks, they're each elected separately. And when they take a message there, the public wants to hear from their elected official, not some hired person. They want to hear from the person that they said they wanted to serve in that office. And that's, I tried to share that the other day. I know that there seems to be a lot of support behind it, but one of the questions I asked of one of the county commissioners is how many other counties our size do they have this kind of a position, and what is the job description there? So I cannot imagine elected officials in other counties saying, sure, but let somebody else speak for me. I mean, we need to all go to conference and learn what our jobs are, I guess. Okay, that's my 2 cents worth. There was no
All right.
response on that. I think we need to find out if any other counties do it.
So with this in mind, I think we've talked about this a good bit, and if there's no objection to it, I think we need to hold this item to the next PAC meeting for further refinement. And so I think we will simply do that. And I think this is good input. This is being recorded. This is also available for the commissioner's office as well as all their staff to take a look at. And it sounds like there might be other comments coming along. We can certainly circle back to that at PAC. But to talk about the whole process, there's a lot of time on this. And here's what I mean. We go to the next PAC meeting. If PAC has requests they want to submit to WIS for a description, they could do that. And maybe some refinement of what this proposal would be. It would then come back, then go back to for PAC consideration, and then eventually further council discussion and vote. If I'm saying any of that wrong, those of you that have served much longer than me could correct me, but we have time for this. And so this input is exceedingly very valuable and very important. We want to get it right as usual. So if there's no objection to holding this to the next agenda item, I'm going to go ahead or next meeting, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And again, I want to thank everyone that has talked about this. And if there's other comments or other conversations we need to have, we can do that as well. This is an open process. I'm grateful that everybody took time from all the things you got going on to also help us out with this as we figure it out. I'm going to move us to item number 4, a discussion regarding new positions to a department for the health department. I believe we've got Penny Cottle is here. I see her camera turning on regarding environmental health manager and
Yeah.
help me out with that. Epidemiology. Woo! Internet's out and I can't talk. So a coordinator. And with that, I would invite Penny Cottle to make further comments on this request. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know what the camera definitely doesn't want me on camera today for some reason. I got my arms fit. Okay. Anyway, oh, that's all right. Thanks for letting me come today. During the budget hearings, the health department had requested 2 positions, which happen to be manager positions, because I can't say new manager positions. We don't really have any. So, and at that time, we had not yet went through the PAC process. So those positions were pulled from the 2021 budget. We were advised to go through PAC. It would be considered to be added this year. And certainly this has been a crazy 15 months for us. So we've kind of lagged behind in this, but we just wanted to come today to just sort of remind you of this, tell you the questionnaire forms are just about done. I'm putting the final touches on that. So wanted to make sure that was still something you were willing to hear, and we'll be moving those forward through the process. So just wanted to kind of bring those back. I will say, and maybe this will make you feel better. We've, through this process, have kind of looked at what do we call our divisions within the department. And so the environmental health manager is kind of an easy one, right? You have environmental health. So we've got our septic program and our foods and our general kind of environmental that deals with swimming pools and radon and air quality and those kinds of things. The other position, and we've kind of, as we have went through the job description reviews, kind of tried to pull some maybe newer, better terms that kind of seem more cohesive for the department. So taking our educators and calling them more community health specialists to kind of discern, because they do more than just education, right? They're doing our health assessments and those kinds of things. So thinking about this as a population health and outreach division manager, so they will handle the data that goes along with surveillance and epidemiology, but they're also handling our health assessments and community health planning, all of those kinds of outreach services that we do, whether it's harm reduction or tobacco education, overseeing all those kinds of things. So that's kind of where we are with that. And as I said, I'm kind of doing a last review of those job questionnaires to be submitted, and just wanted to put this back on your radar and say that we are, moving forward and finally managed to get something on paper for these.
Thank you very much, Ms. Cottle. And you made epidemiology sound so very smooth when you said it, and it made me happy for all that it is. Counselor Hawk has a comment or a question. Go ahead.
A question. I heard you say about one of the positions that they would be in charge of septic inspections and so forth. And I think it's no secret here that we've had some major problems getting those septic inspections and information out to the public when an individual needs that, they should be getting it in a timely fashion, and that's just not been happening for whatever reason. And believe me, they don't mind complaining to the world. So what can we do? Is one of these, is that going to be helpful to you? And what can we do to move that forward quickly?
Certainly. One will be, because one will be managing all of the environmental health. The other piece is it provides cross-training so that we have additional staff that can prioritize what those needs are at any given time and make those work assignments. So the environmental health specialist certainly will do that and can handle the work in the office so that the field staff are spending more time in the field. In terms of some of the slowdown of things that have occurred, I will take this opportunity to say that one, the pandemic has certainly changed our focus and lots of things that we do and how we're able to do those things. Aside from that, we've also had staff changes, staff retirements. We've had people out on leave. So there have been a lot of reasons for things slowing down that have nothing to do with just a general inefficiency of the department. So there are times when you have people out, changing in staff. We have been down to one person at a time to handle all the discharges, all the complaints, all the new installs, all the phone calls, everything. So, keep that in mind when you do get complaints. I always hate it when you get complaints about something that we're doing or not doing, but that is an important piece that I just wanted to make sure was very, very clear.
Right. Well, part of the response has been that you were short-staffed. So whatever the county council can do to assist you, Ms. Cottle, I want to make sure that we specifically hone in on that and get that worked out for your department. And mainly for the public, because department's only there to serve the public, so.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that very much. Both of these positions will do just that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Counselor Spoonmore?
Just a comment to thank Ms. Caudle for that, I think, important information. And, you know, this has been the most trying year in the history of Monroe County government. I feel very confident in saying that. And I think the work that the health department has done in all of the various areas that they're responsible for has been nothing short of heroic. And when I talk to constituents who have concerns about things, and we talk about it a little bit more, they understand that as well. And it does seem that in the end, things get worked out relatively quickly. And I know that puts a lot of pressure on the health department, and we can do more to assist there. But I just want to say thanks very much again to Ms. Caudle.
Thank you. One comment I was going to make, and I feel like I circled to this theme a lot, and so I apologize for saying it, but I think sometimes when we look at things like I was looking at your chart, Ms. Caudle, and all the intricacies that the health department does, and probably if we went back historically, all the little things that get added over time as this crisis and this need and this priority comes down from federal, state, local. But when I like to go back and look at things, 1980, our population in this county was 98,785. And they're saying for 2021, we're at 150,833. And I think sometimes we look at things in the courthouse and out in the county, and we remember or see sort of how things were versus how things need to be now, because yeah, we just added that many people, and that's a little less than my lifetime. So it tells me when my daughters are older, the demands on the health department will change. So whenever I see things being added in response to that, you know, it even goes back to the last conversation we're having about public information. I think we feel these growing pains, and I suspect the health department probably felt it worse than anybody, maybe. I don't want to guess, because again, we're not seeing it all the time, but felt it a little more acutely, particularly in these last months that have just been historic. And I think this office, I've said it about EMA as well, I think that these things will continue to evolve and change, and we're still dealing with kind of an 1850 structure under the two state constitutions. So there's a lot there. And I appreciate you bringing this to us. I guess my question is, maybe Michelle can weigh in on this, or even Ms. Caudle, what next steps we'd be looking at for this item?
I believe if we want to be consistent, it needs to go to the entire council for discussion. Even though we've kind of sort of had a wee bit of a discussion at budgets. So that's where I'm at. I mean, we had a sort of kind of discussion with the sheriff's department at budgets with their position. How do you foresee moving? Is Mike, you know, I mean, do we want to go ahead and have another discussion?
Counselor Spoonmore?
I'd like a refresher, just kind of maybe looking at the minutes and seeing what that discussion was, or just reviewing the CATs. Because if there was, in my recollection, it's been a while, but my recollection is that there was general support for it. We just wanted this to be done in the next calendar year. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of the reason why we had put it off. And if that's the case, then I think we can just, you know, avoid having to, you know, have Ms. Caudle come back to another council meeting to talk about this for, another time. So yeah, as long and maybe Michelle, you can research that, and if there seems to be, you know, just a general consensus, and I think that was my impression of that meeting, as I recall.
That was mine too, and that's why I was wondering, you know, do we want to have another one? If not, Penny, as she stated, is working on the paperwork that needs to go to WIS. So as soon as she gets that done, I just need permission or the okay from you to forward that on to WIS to create a job description and classification.
I could personally say I have received inquiry from other council members how PAC is assisting with this process for the health department. And so I believe, as my recollection tells me, that it is indicative that they want us to do what we got to do to assist this to get done. So I would be okay, and I guess I'll entertain that. Are we good with having a WIS, once paperwork's completed, WIS begin their deliberation? Is that the thought here? Do we have a motion for that?
Yes, I'll move to forward the job descriptions to WIS once they're completed, and for a classification review.
Okay. Any second? I will second that for purposes to move. We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I believe we're ready to call the roll.
Hawk, Counselor
Yes.
Hawk. Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you. I'll get those into Ms. Shell, and then we can forward those to council if that's helpful as well for review. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cottle. All right, that takes us now to item number 5, approval of summary minutes as presented. You've all seen the minutes in your packet. Is there a motion to accept those minutes if you're good?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the summary minutes as presented.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will take a roll call.
Counselor Deckard,
Yes.
Counselor Spoonmore,
Yes.
Counselor Hawk.
Yes.
Motion passed unanimous.
Thank you very much. Any comments from members of PAC that they wish to make before we adjourn?
Nice job of keeping things on time here.
12:59, good job.
All right, I'm trying. Deep freeze a coming, right, Counselor Hawk? If there's nothing else before this body, we will now call this PAC adjourned. I appreciate everybody coming.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you.